Kate Parker didn't believe in legends. At 32 years old, a freelance journalist and skeptic by nature, she dedicated her travels to debunking rumors and stories that others would call exotic mysticism. When her editor suggested a story about the unexplained phenomena in the ruins of Machu Picchu, she just rolled her eyes. A banal task. However, the offer was too good to refuse, and the Peruvian destination, surrounded by beauty and mystery, was irresistible even for someone like her. Take your camera, Parker, and try not to fall off a mountain. Tourists have been seeing something strange there. John, the editor, let out a muffled laugh on the other end of the line. How strange. An alien or an Inca ghost? She replied sarcastically. Worse. Some swear they saw a creature, a kind of guardian made of stone that watches over the temples. Very gullible people. But I want something robust. Have a good trip. Kate hung up, sighing. Stone guardian? That already sounded like another legend to impress unsuspecting tourists. Before we continue with this intriguing story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This helps us bring more content like this to you. Now, let's get back to the story. That same night, Kate left for Peru. His suitcase contained the basics: light clothes, notebooks, an almost inseparable Nikon camera, and a book on the history of the Incas. The plane was packed with American tourists, all talking animatedly about the ancient lost city. A boy named Nathan, sitting next to her, started a conversation. First time to Machu Picchu? Yeah. You'll love it. It's like ancient history come to life. Nathan's eyes shone with enthusiasm. Kate just smirked. If by coming to life you mean guides taking tourists for selfies, then yes. Kate reached the top of Machu Picchu in a small group, guided by a local named Javier, a robust and serious man, with his skin punished by the Andean sun. The sun rose slowly, staining the mountains with golden hues, while clouds snaked between the peaks like a sacred veil. This city was home to the Incas for over 500 years, abandoned before the arrival of the Spanish, explained Javier in his deep voice. There are stories of gods, sacrifices, and spiritual protectors. They say the stone guardian still protects the ruins. Kate snorted internally. That story about the stone guardian was already starting to appear. With his camera in hand, he photographed the group and some of the impressive buildings. This guardian, what exactly is it? Asked Nathan, who was listening to Javier with palpable curiosity. The guide stopped walking. His eyes narrowed. The stone guardian is an ancient legend, a creature made from the mountain itself, with empty eyes that see into the soul of anyone who steps here. He protects temples from disrespectful outsiders and thieves. It's just a legend, isn't it? Kate interrupted, trying to sound casual. Javier didn't respond. His dark eyes stared at her for a moment too long, as if searching for something. Just respect this place. As the day progressed, Kate began to feel something. Maybe it was the altitude or the tiredness, but a constant feeling of being watched bothered her. Among the tourists, she noticed that everyone seemed more attentive than usual. Do you feel that? Nathan muttered as he descended a staircase. What? Like something was here, watching us. Kate looked at him with a raised eyebrow. It's just Javier scaring you. He's a great guide, but a terrible storyteller. Even so, she herself began to see strange shadows among the stones. Sometimes, when I looked into the camera, I thought there was something there, a human shape, too solid to be an illusion. She adjusted the lens to take a photo of an ancient statue, but a grotesque shadow appeared in her vision. Eyes wide, she lowered the camera. "Did you see that?" Kate whispered, calling Nathan. "See what?" Kate pointed out. But the statue was exactly as it was before. His nerves were beginning to fray. In the late afternoon, the group began to return to the meeting point, but Kate stayed behind, determined to capture the perfect photo of the sunset over Machu Picchu. Silence took over the place when the other tourists disappeared. Now alone, Kate walked with careful steps among the ruins. The golden light slowly faded and the sky darkened. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed among the stones, a dry noise, like rocks moving against rocks. She froze. "Nathan," he called in a low voice. No response. Turning a narrow corner between ancient walls, Kate stopped abruptly. Something was there. Before her, in the center of a small, forgotten courtyard, a gigantic figure emerged from the shadows. A stone humanoid, with sculpted muscles and ancient fissures covering its entire body. His empty eyes glowed with a pale, almost bluish light. Kate's heart skipped a beat. She wanted to run, but she couldn't move. "Who? What?" he muttered, unable to finish the sentence. The creature took a step forward. The ground shook. Kate pulled out her camera, hands shaking, and took a photo. The flash illuminated the Guardian's monstrous face, and he slowly turned his head to look directly at her. At this moment, a deafening sound filled the air, a mix of howling wind and crumbling rocks. Kate didn't have time to react. The clouds closed in, and everything went dark. Kate woke up with a jolt, her body feeling cold and numb. She was lying on the stone floor, and the air around her was thick, almost too heavy to breathe. The sky was dark, with only a faint silver light escaping the clouds. His heart was still racing with the memory of what he had seen. The stone guardian, as real as the ruins that surrounded it. Was it a dream? No, it couldn't have been, he murmured, pulling his hair back as he tried to get up. Kate felt in her jacket pocket and pulled out her camera. His hands were still shaking as he turned on the device and searched for the photo. The image appeared on the small screen. An immense humanoid silhouette made of stone, with empty eyes glowing in the darkness. My God, this is impossible. She felt a shiver run down her spine. I needed to get out of there. Kate turned to look around. The ruins were eerily silent, too empty. There was no sign of Javier, Nathan, or any other tourist. They should already be on the bus. Trying to control her panic, Kate followed the same trails the group had used earlier. The sound of her own footsteps echoed too much, as if something or someone was following her. Every now and then, a shadow would move around him. When I stopped to look, I only saw the ancient stones of Machu Picchu. About 20 minutes later, Kate found Javier standing next to a partially collapsed wall. The guide's face was darker than ever, as if he already knew what she had witnessed. "You took your time." "I got lost." Kate stuttered, hiding the camera behind her body. "Where is everyone?" "On the bus. Come on, it's dangerous to stay here after sunset." Javier started to walk, but Kate followed him, confused. "Dangerous? Why? Because of this thing, that guardian?" Javier stopped abruptly and turned around, his gaze hard. "The Guardian is not just a legend, miss. There are things that should not be disturbed." "No, but it exists, doesn't it? I saw it. I have a photo." She held up the camera as evidence, but Javier interrupted her, his voice low and stern. "Delete that." "What? Delete that photo now?" "No way. This could be the discovery of a lifetime." Javier approached, his eyes shining with a mix of anger and fear. "Or it could be your undoing. You don't understand what you've done." Kate opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by a distant sound, the same dry noise of moving stones. Javier's eyes widened, his face losing color. "Quick! We need to get out of here!" He grabbed Kate's arm and pulled her tightly. As they ran, the sound grew louder, as if something huge was awakening beneath the mountain. When they arrived at the parking lot, Kate expected to find the entire group inside the bus. But the vehicle was almost empty, and Nathan wasn't there. "Audrey, where's the boy who was with me?" Kate asked, panting. Javier didn't respond. He looked distressed, looking at the ruins as if he expected something to appear at any moment. "We don't have time to wait." "But Nathan is gone. We can't leave him behind," Kate insisted, trying to pull Javier by the arm. Suddenly, a muffled scream echoed from the mountains. Kate felt her stomach drop. It sounded like a human voice. "It's him! It's Nathan!" Kate shouted, running towards the ruins. "You're gonna stop! Don't go back there!" Javier shouted, but she didn't hear him. With camera in hand and a makeshift flashlight, Kate ran along the slippery trails of Machu Picchu. With each step, he felt the weight of something invisible around him. Her breath hitched and fear paralyzed her, but the desperate sound of Nathan's voice kept calling. "Nathan, where are you?" The echo of his own voice returned the question. In response, something roared deep within the ruins, a low, guttural sound that seemed to come from the stones themselves. Kate followed the sound to an ancient temple. Upon entering, the flashlight illuminated the interior, a hall covered in Inca symbols, with weathered statues along the walls. In the center, there were huge footprints sunk into the stone floor. Kate looked around, startled, when the light from the flashlight revealed something that made her scream. Nathan was there, kneeling and motionless, as if petrified. Literally, his skin was gray, cracked, and he looked part of his surroundings. "Nathan! Nathan, talk to me!" Kate whispered, touching him lightly. As soon as his hand touched the boy's shoulder, a sharp hiss echoed throughout the room. The flashlight's light failed, plunging everything into darkness. The sound of moving rocks came again, getting closer and closer. Kate felt a gigantic presence rise up behind her. When he turned around, his eyes met the stone guardian, even more imposing and monstrous than before. His empty eyes now shone with an intense, almost blinding light. The creature raised an arm, and Kate froze in place, unable to move or scream. Kate's flashlight fell to the ground, and the camera went off automatically, taking one last photo. The guardian's face inches from hers, his expression blank and terrifying. The next moment, an intense flash flooded the temple, and everything became silent. Kate woke up with a jolt, her body rigid and her breathing labored. The flash still burned in his mind, but everything around him was silent and dark. She was lying on the floor of the temple, with the broken flashlight at her side and the intact camera still attached to her neck. The images of the stone guardian and petrified Nathan remained vivid in his memory. "Nathan," he murmured, sitting down with difficulty. Her heart raced as she remembered the last moment, the creature's face so close, as if it were judging her. He felt the ground vibrate beneath his hands, but when he looked around, he saw no one. The room looked abandoned, except for the monstrous footprints that still marked the stone floor. She needed to get out of there. Kate walked through the dark ruins, the unsettling silence only broken by the sound of her own footsteps. The shadows of the ancient buildings seemed to move around, watching her. The invisible weight of that presence was still there. The guardian was somewhere. She knew it. Upon finally reaching the main trail, Kate saw Javier, who was running towards her, accompanied by 2 local guards. "Kate!" Javier called, his face filled with relief and concern. "What happened? Where have you been?" "The temple. Nathan, it's still there. It turned to stone, Javier. We need to do something." The words came out shakily, Kate's voice shaking. Javier stopped abruptly, exchanging a dark look with the guards. One of the men approached and spoke in Spanish to the guide. Kate couldn't understand, but she saw Javier shake his head in denial. "We can't go back." "What? What do you mean? He's there." "Kate, listen. If the Guardian chose him, he is beyond our help." "He chose?" Kate felt a chill run down her spine. "What are you talking about? Javier, he's just a boy. He doesn't deserve this." The guide took a deep breath and approached her, lowering his voice. "There's a reason the locals avoid these ruins after nightfall. The Stonekeeper is a protector, a spirit who walks among the temples. He decides who is worthy and who is not. If he took Nathan, it was because the young man committed some disrespect. I warned you." "That's crazy," Kate shouted, exasperated. "They're just stories, and even if they aren't, no one has the right to decide who lives or dies." Javier placed his hands on her shoulders, firmly. "If you keep questioning Kate, he'll come back to you. Delete the photos. Leave it behind." Kate pulled away, eyes wide. Fear mixed with anger. "No, I can't leave Nathan here. I can't, and I won't." Hours later, back at the small hotel where the group was staying, Kate locked herself in her room. His hands shook as he connected the camera to the laptop. I needed to see the photos again. I needed proof. The images appeared, one after another. The first showed the sunset, golden clouds snaking across the mountains. Then came the photos of the temple, of the shadows between the walls. And then the final photo appeared. Kate held her breath. There he was, the stone guardian, with his blank, glowing eyes fixed on the camera. But there was something more. In the background, almost imperceptibly, Kate noticed something familiar, a series of marks on the floor of the temple. She enlarged the image. His heart stopped. It can't be. The marks on the floor formed symbols, ancient Inca writing. Kate pulled out the notebook where she had written down information about the Incas and began comparing the symbols. A pattern emerged, a message. He who breaks the silence awakens the guardian. She reread the words over and over, trying to understand. Javier wasn't wrong. The guardian was there to protect. But protect what? The next day, Kate decided to return to the ruins alone. She knew she was taking a risk, but she also knew she needed answers. With a light backpack, camera, and recorder, she arrived at Machu Picchu again before dawn. Low clouds covered the mountains like a blanket, and the air was cold and damp. The trail was deserted, and the silence was absolute. She advanced to the temple where she had lost Nathan. This time, each step felt heavier, as if the ground itself was testing her. Upon entering the temple, Kate pulled out the recorder. I know I'm messing with something I don't understand, but I need to know, why was he taken? What are you protecting here? The question echoed through the empty temple. For a few seconds, everything was silent. Then the dry sound came again. Rocks moving. Kate backed away, her breath hitching. The guardian's figure began to emerge from the shadows again, but something was different this time. He didn't just look like a creature. He was part of the temple itself, as if he had melted into the stone. The ground began to shake, and Kate stumbled, falling to her knees. The lights in the guardian's eyes grew even more intense, and for the first time a deep, drawling voice echoed through the room. You broke the silence. What are you looking for here? Kate froze. The creature was questioning her. I want to understand. What do you protect? Why do you take people? She shouted, struggling to be heard over the deafening noise. Desecrators are not welcome. I don't want to profane anything. I just want to know the truth. For a brief moment, the guardian lay still, his empty eyes fixed on her. Then the stone floor opened up, revealing something hidden beneath the temple, an underground passage. Kate looked at the hole, her heart hammering. The truth is there. She muttered to herself. With one last look at the creature, she grabbed the flashlight and climbed down through the opening, determined to discover what was hidden. As Kate descended the ancient, uneven stairs, the sound of stones echoed behind her again. The guardian watched her, but did not stop her from moving forward. What was in that passage that the guardian protected so fiercely? And more importantly, why had he let her pass? The descent was treacherous. Kate felt the uneven stone steps beneath her feet, each step resounding like an endless echo. The air there was humid, filled with the smell of ancient earth, mixed with something indefinable. Perhaps dust, perhaps the weight of the centuries that those walls had witnessed. His flashlight flickered, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls covered in Inca symbols. The silence, broken only by one's own breathing and the occasional creak of rocks above, was deafening. Kate didn't know what she expected to find, but the guardian had let her in. That thought haunted her as much as the image of Nathan petrified. He knew I would come here, she murmured to herself, going deeper. Suddenly, the staircase ended. Kate reached an immense underground hall with a ceiling so high that it disappeared into darkness. In the center of the room, a massive stone altar dominated the space, covered in inscriptions that seemed to glow softly under the lantern light. Around the altar, ancient statues were arranged in a circle. They looked human, but with rigid, expressionless features. One of them, however, made Kate's heart skip a beat. The face, although worn, looked like Nathan's. She staggered back, clapping a hand over her mouth. This is impossible." The dry sound of moving rocks came again, louder and closer this time. Kate swiveled the flashlight quickly, searching for the source of the noise. An opening in the side wall of the hall appeared, revealing an even narrower passage. Beside it, larger inscriptions bore the same pattern Kate had seen in the photo. "He who breaks the silence awakens the Guardian." "But what do you protect?" Kate whispered, as if waiting for an answer. She knew she couldn't go back. If there was anything that explained those statues and why the Guardian had let her in, it was in that new passage. Kate entered the narrow passage, the flashlight shining just a meter ahead. The path was low and winding, forcing her to walk hunched over. When he finally reached the other side, he found himself in a small circular chamber. In the center, a smooth, polished stone lay on a pedestal as if it were a black mirror. All around her, the same ancient inscriptions snaked across the floor. Kate slowly knelt, approaching the shiny surface. When the flashlight light touched the object, an image began to emerge. It was a scene from the ruins of Machu Picchu, but not as she knew them today. The buildings were intact, majestic in the sun, and human, or almost human, figures moved between the temples. In the center, a colossal figure stood out, the stone guardian, in all his grandeur. Kate froze. The image then changed. She saw modern tourists, like Nathan, touching the ancient stones and laughing, unaware of what they were doing. Then the Guardian appeared again, tearing them from reality, turning them into statues. The pattern was clear. The Guardian was there to punish those who were disrespectful. Kate fell back, panting. "That's it. That's what he does," she whispered, horrified. "He turns those who disrespect the ruins into part of them." The ground vibrated again, and the sound of stones returned, louder, closer. Kate stood up, the flashlight shaking in her hand. She knew what would come next. The entrance Kate had come through collapsed, blocking her exit. The chamber began to shake, and the Guardian's figure emerged from the stone floor as if it were part of it. His presence was overwhelming, and his empty eyes now glowed with a bluish intensity that lit up the entire room. "You saw too much." The deep, drawling voice echoed from all sides. Kate stumbled, falling to her knees again. "Why? Why do you punish those who come here? They just want to see the place." "Know the history." The Guardian approached, each step reverberating through the room. He extended a gigantic hand, and Kate felt the air around her become heavy, as if she were being sucked into the ground. "History is not to be desecrated. Those who violate the sacred pay the price." "I'm not like them," Kate shouted with tears in her eyes. "I respect this place. I just wanted to tell the truth." For a moment, the Guardian hesitated. His empty eyes seemed to analyze her. Then he slowly lowered his hand. "Truth has a price. Do you wish to carry it?" Kate fell silent, her heart beating wildly. She knew what was at stake. "If I accepted, I would never be the same again." "Yes," he replied, almost voiceless. "I want to know the truth." The Guardian raised his other hand, and the black surface of the pedestal began to glow brightly. Images and sounds exploded in Kate's mind. She saw ancient sacrifices, forgotten rituals, the construction of Machu Picchu, and the emergence of the Guardian as the final protector of the sacred city. She saw those who disrespected the ruins consumed and turned into statues, imprisoned eternally as secondary guardians. Kate screamed, the weight of the visions almost driving her mad. Then everything stopped. The Guardian watched her one last time. "Now you carry the truth. Go and choose what you will do with it." The wall behind her began to slowly open, revealing an exit lit by the rising sun. The Guardian took one last step back, and his form began to melt back into the ground. Hours later, Kate emerged from the ruins. His clothes were dirty, and his eyes, red and empty, bore the mark of someone who had seen the unimaginable. Javier was waiting for her at the top of the trail, his face surprised when he saw her. "You're alive," he murmured, almost in shock. What happened down there? Kate looked at him but didn't respond. Instead, he held the camera tightly against his chest. She now carried the truth, a truth that no one would believe, but that no one should ever forget. Without saying a word, Kate walked away from the ruins, leaving Javier behind. Inside his backpack, the camera was still on. The last photo taken showed the Guardian's face, with his bright and dark eyes. Below it, a new inscription had appeared like a brand. The truth is a burden. The descent from the ruins of Machu Picchu to the village of Aguas Calientes was silent. Kate walked alone, her steps slow and shuffling. His mind was in a whirlwind. The petrified faces he had seen underground, the Guardian's deep voice echoing in his head, and the mark on the camera, the inscription that seemed to follow his every move. The truth is a burden. In the village, the vibrant scenery contrasted brutally with the emptiness Kate felt inside. Tourists walked excitedly, vendors offered souvenirs at colorful stalls, and the sound of nearby waterfalls filled the air. But none of it seemed real. She knew what was hidden under the rocks. When you arrived at the hotel, Javier was waiting for you at reception. His eyes, which had previously carried severity, now seemed to reflect a mixture of concern and respect. "You're back," he said, almost like a statement. "I went back. You saw it, didn't you?" Kate nodded, gripping the strap of her backpack as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. "You knew it all along, Javier. You knew what was down there. I knew enough to respect it. The truth doesn't belong to us, Kate." "And why did the Guardian, let me leave? Why me?" Javier took a deep breath, his features serious. "Because you made the choice. You heard, you saw, and you accepted the burden. Few survive the weight of the truth. He doesn't just protect the ruins, Kate. He protects history. Those who dare desecrate or disrespect become a part hers. Forever." Kate closed her eyes. Nathan, the memory of her friend, petrified in the temple, made her shudder. He didn't know what he was doing. None of them knew. "But now you carry the truth," continued Javier, "and it's up to you to decide what to do with it." Kate went up to her room without responding. His hands shook as he took the camera out of his backpack and placed it on the bed. The dim light from the lamp illuminated the screen. The last photo was still there. The Guardian's face, his empty eyes shining brightly, and the inscription just below, like a sentence. "The truth is a burden." That night, Kate couldn't sleep. The camera seemed to radiate something that consumed it. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the sound of stones, felt the vibration beneath her feet, and saw Nathan's petrified face. Sitting on the floor with the camera in her hands, Kate reflected, "If I publish this, will the world believe it? Photos can be faked, but if they believe it, what if they decide to explore those ruins further? What if the Guardian is awakened again, more often, more violently?" The truth was a burden, as the Guardian had said, and she was beginning to understand what he meant. Some truths should not be revealed. The cell phone vibrated on the table, breaking the silence. It was an email from his editor, John. "Kate, you disappeared. What is happening? I hope you have something big, because your reputation is at stake. Send me the article and photos by tomorrow." Kate stared at the message. His heart raced. A part of her wanted to forget, delete the photos, destroy the camera, and leave Machu Picchu behind. But another part, the journalist, the seeker of truth, needed the world to know, truth or silence. She typed a short reply. "I'm fine, still working on the matter." Then he took the camera and placed it on the table, staring at it as if it were a cursed object. The next morning, Kate made a decision. She couldn't leave what she had seen behind, not yet. "I needed to return to the temple one last time. There was something there, a final answer she hadn't yet found." Javier was waiting for her at the hotel reception, as if he knew she would return. "You want to go back?" "Yes." He shook his head, resigned. "Then I'll go with you. I can't leave you alone down there again." The climb to Machu Picchu was quick and silent. When they reached the ruins, Javier led Kate along a more discreet path, away from tourists and the main trails. They went down again to the underground temple. As they entered the main chamber, Kate felt the weight of the place again. The altar, the statues, and the sepulchral silence were exactly as she remembered, but there was something different this time. A new statue had appeared. Kate froze. It was Nathan. His expression was frozen in a silent scream, his petrified eyes staring at the altar. Javier approached slowly, making the sign of the cross. He is now part of history. Kate fought to hold back the tears. She couldn't save him, but perhaps she could prevent others from suffering the same fate. She walked down the aisle and placed the camera on it. The surface began to glow softly as before, and the sound of stones echoed around. The Guardian's presence filled the room, invisible but unmistakable. Kate spoke, her voice firm. "I give the truth back to you. It doesn't belong to me." The light in the chamber intensified, blinding her for a moment. When he opened his eyes again, the camera was gone. The altar was empty, as if nothing had happened. Javier touched Kate's shoulder, his voice low. "You made the right choice." Back on the surface, the sun illuminated Machu Picchu with a serene, pristine beauty. Kate took a deep breath, feeling as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "And now?" asked Javier, walking beside her. Kate looked at the ruins one last time. "Now I tell the story another way. No photos, no proof, just the truth, for anyone willing to listen." Javier smiled slightly and nodded. As they walked down the trail, Kate noticed something curious. The sound of the stones had stopped. The Guardian, satisfied with his decision, had returned to his rest. Months later, Kate published an article entitled "The Silence of Machu Picchu," a reflection on respect for history and ancestral cultures. Many readers applauded his words, others criticized her for not having concrete evidence. No one believed there was anything else in the ruins, but Kate knew. And on silent nights, I could still hear the sound of rocks moving. Kate's New York apartment was bathed in cold gray light. The city outside throbbed as it always did, but Kate felt increasingly distant from it. Sitting at her desk, she reread for the 1,000th time the article she had published, "The Silence of Machu Picchu." The words were strong, well constructed, but she knew they didn't tell the whole truth. She chose to keep the secret. Returning the camera and silencing the truth was the only decision that made sense. But ever since then, that decision has haunted her. In the last few months, she felt something strange. Whenever he walked the busy streets or sat in a coffee, he felt like being observed. In the most silent moments of the night, I sometimes heard a distant and familiar sound, stones moving. She started to avoid mirrors. On more than one occasion, he had the feeling that something or someone moved in them, out of sync with his reflection. That morning, while Kate drank coffee and tried to ignore the shadows under her eyes, a letter was pushed under the door. There was no sender. The paper, aged, smelled of ancient dust. Kate opened it with the trembling fingers. The truth never ceases to be a burden. Those who carry it, they are never alone. She released the letter, as if she had been burned. This cannot be happening. The sound of the stones echoed again in his mind. Kate looked around the small apartment, feeling a presence she couldn't see. Suddenly the phone rang. The display showed the editor number, John. She hesitated before answering. "Kate, there's someone asking you here in the newsroom. A man. He said he's a tourist guide from Peru. Javier, I think. He is insisting to talk to you." Kate felt her heart stop for a moment. "Javier?" muttered, astonished. "That's right. Is the guy serious? Says it's urgent. Is everything okay with you?" Kate didn't answer. He hung up the phone and stayed there, immovable. Why would Javier be in New York? Something was wrong. Very wrong. Later that night, Kate met with Javier in a discreet coffee in the city center. The guide seemed worn out, as if he hasn't slept for days. His usually firm face was marked by tension. "Why are you here, Javier?" asked Kate, sitting in front of him. Javier looked around, making sure no one was listening. His voice came out low, almost a whisper. "Kate, you returned the camera to the altar, but you didn't return what he really wanted, the story." Kate frowned. "What do you mean?" "I did what he asked for. I left the truth with him." "You don't understand. The Guardian doesn't just protect the ruins. He protects the secret that keeps them untouched. Even if you have saved silence, the truth now lives in you, Kate. And as long as you live in you, it will come back." Kate's blood froze. "This makes no sense. You feel that, don't you? The presence, the sounds. You were marked, Kate. He can't allow the truth to be free. You need to finish what started." "And what does that mean?" Javier leaned closer, the dark eyes. "You need to go back to Machu Picchu. There is a choice that needs to be made. Either you give the story to the Guardian or become part of it." Kate felt the floor collapse under her feet. Becoming part of her? How? Like Nathan? Javier didn't answer. He just nodded slowly. 2 weeks later, Kate was again in front of Machu Picchu's ruins. This time, there were no tourists. The Peruvian government had closed the place for urgent maintenance, but Javier got it to pass. The morning was dark and benighted, as if the mountain itself knew what was about to happen. "You know what you need to do," Javier said, as they stopped at the entrance of the underground temple. "Choose with wisdom." Kate came in alone. The temple looked colder, more alive than before. The altar in the center of the room seemed to wait for her, like an open mouth in silence. She stopped before him and removed something from the backpack, a notebook. There she had written everything she knew, everything she saw, every detail of the truth she had discovered. "If that's what you want, take it. The story is yours." She placed the notebook on the altar. The floor began to tremble, and the sound of the stones echoed louder than ever. Kate fell to her knees, her hands covering her ears. The Guardian figure emerged again, his empty eyes shining intensely. "Truth returns to silence." The serious voice echoed all over the room. The blue glow of the Guardian's eyes became unbearable, and Kate felt her body be pulled, as if the temple tried to absorb it. Then everything stopped. When Kate opened her eyes, the altar was empty. The notebook had disappeared. The Guardian was no longer there. Only the silence was left. Months later, Kate returned to her life in New York. She never heard the sound of the stones, and the shadows that watched her had disappeared. She published one last article, simple and enigmatic. "There are secrets that must remain buried. Some truths do not belong to the world." The article was ignored by most readers, considered a poetic and empty attempt by a former promising journalist. But Kate knew. She still dreamed of Machu Picchu sometimes, the sacred ruins, the stone guardian, and the empty look of Nathan. And in his dreams, he heard a serious voice whispering, "Silence is true protection." What did you think of this outcome? Leave your opinion in the comments. We love to know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like to support our work. See you in the next video.